that Web 3.0 is something which is very, very timely. I mean, I'm speaking now more as an individual, as a user of internet rather than a government representative. I mean, from a government's perspective also it is very important, but from a user's point also, we know that the way internet has shaped up, particularly in the last decade and a half or so, the phenomena of what we call as big tech, the four big companies who today more or less have monopolized the internet, and the kind of, without even our becoming very conscious of it, the kind of attacks our footprints on the web faces, the kind of subterfuge which is used in monitoring what all internet footprints, digital footprints we are leaving, trying to monetize it without our approval, without our permission, blatant violations of privacy, etc. I mean, all these, at some point in time, people had to kind of bring everything to a stop. And I'm very happy that this movement has started worldwide to create an internet which respects ethics, which believes in transparency. Trust is very important. And fortunately, we have tools like the blockchain, which has shown in so many cases. In fact, I'm glad that Priyanka raised this example of remote voting. I'll speak a little bit about it and also tell you about certain other very, very complicated kind of problems, very intractable problems, which we were able to solve using blockchain. So by now, blockchain is showcased all over the world as a tool which can give you extremely refined solutions with while maintaining 100% levels of trust, etc. So these are some of the fundamentals which we would like in a new way in which internet is visualized. So while we do not have any very concrete framework or a policy for Web3, we would like to become one of the early states, one of the first states rather, which supports this kind of initiative. See, many of you will be aware, let me go back a little in time. When Telangana came into being in 2014, 7.5 years ago, we got this mandate. In fact, I still remember, within days of the new state coming into being, we had conducted a visioning exercise close by at ISB, and all the domain experts who were there with us. So the question which we had posed in that gathering, when that visioning exercise was going on, was that see, many of you would know that the reason why Telangana, that a demand for a new state of Telangana was that there was a very strong belief that all the opportunities which were coming in the combined state, they were not coming Telangana's way. People of the other region were knocking off most of it because they were more educated, they were more entrepreneurial, they were obviously wealthier, and so on and so forth. So therefore, this new state of Telangana was created. And as I was telling you, we conducted a visioning exercise within days of the state becoming a state. And the question which was posed in that exercise was that how do we cover up or make up for these decades of lost opportunity? We have missed opportunities for the whole of 60s, the whole of 70s, 80s, so almost 5 decades or so. So how do you make up for it? And I remember our minister was there. He used a very nice term. See, normally when you have to move fast or do something quickly, you use the expression, how do you fast track it? Sometimes when there is even more sense of urgency, we use the term, how do you leapfrog? I mean, just walking fast is not enough. I have to kind of jump. But the minister used an expression which is so evocative. He used the expression pole vault, that how do we pole vault? So jumping will not be sufficient. I have to jump maybe 10 times my height. So how do I do that? And in that visioning exercise, speaker after speaker after speaker told us that the only way you can do that is by embracing technology. So technology will be the only way in which you can do good, you can do more, you can bring prosperity, you can create jobs, whatever are the typical expectations of the government, all that can happen if you support technology. And of course, one other very strong message which was given was that while many people are in the process of creating technology or developing technology-enabled solutions, products, etc., but a large part of it nowadays is coming from the world of startups, from the world of entrepreneurs, from the world of innovators, and therefore the state should encourage that as well. I mean, if you keep looking again at the so-called big firms for technology solutions, I mean, of course they also do create good solutions and all, but obviously there is lots of backstory behind all of that. So they can continue to do what they are doing, but rely more on startups, more on entrepreneurs to give you the kind of solutions that you require. And therefore, many of you who live in Hyderabad, I was pleasantly surprised to find that some people have come from outstation as well. But those who live here, I'm sure know this, the kind of innovation ecosystem that we have created. Allow them to settle down. Lots of chairs this side, there's a chair. Miraj, you want to sit there? So, from the last 7.5 years, this has been our approach, this has been our focus, that we will encourage people who create technology-enabled solutions and products to look at opportunities in this state of Telangana, Hyderabad, other cities, etc. And I feel very happy looking back at the last 7.5 years that our initiatives have yielded very encouraging initial results. Now, from 2014, when the city had just 2 incubators, just around 200 odd startups, we have actually done that pole vault. There are now 70 plus incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, including this one. From a number of 200, we have crossed 6,750, and many of these startups have come up with great products, great solutions. Even people from outside have chosen to come and bring their technology team, development team to Hyderabad. They appreciate 3-4 things very much about Hyderabad. One is about the ease at which they find team members, like composing your team or constituting your team is not at all a challenge here. Even the infrastructure which is available, the cost of real estate, etc. Ability to seamlessly participate in lots of community events, interact with mentors, etc. Much easier as compared to any other state. And again, as I said, I take pride in the fact that government has also played some catalyzing role in creating that kind of an ecosystem. So what we have been doing in the last 7 years is that any spectrum of technology which we feel is of relevance to the people. See, government of course is an entity, but eventually government represents the will of the people. So any technology through which we will be able to find solutions to some of the pressing problems that people face, that is always of relevance to us, that is always of interest to us. And what we have done is, see, in the government also there are all kinds of governments, but we are driven by 3 kinds of mantras. The first very important mantra which we do is that whatever is our intent with respect to that technology, lay it out in the open. I mean, just bring out either a policy or a framework or an approach paper and design that in consultation with the stakeholders. See, lots of people speak about our country, that great policies are written, they read very good in English, they are printed on glossy paper, but nothing happens thereafter. They are just confined on paper. But in Telangana, we do it very differently. Our approach is always to consult the stakeholders multiple times, understand what their pain points are, find solutions to those pain points in that approach paper document, etc. And for example, if you look at our startups and innovation policy, it's a very short document, just about 10-12 pages, I imagine. But every sentence in that policy leads to some action. It's not a very ambitious motherhood statement kind of document. Every statement points to some pain point and how that pain point will be addressed by the government and all other stakeholders put together. So, and it's a nice coincidence that we are speaking tomorrow. We are speaking now. Tomorrow we are releasing yet another document which is about space tech. I mean, many states will not even be kind of conscious of the fact that so much of excitement, so much of opportunity is coming in the world of space technology. And tomorrow we are launching that framework document. And interestingly, yeah, I was about to say so. Interestingly, this will be the first ever official kind of an event or a function which will be completely conducted on metaverse. So far in our country, of course, small corporate events have been conducted on metaverse. There was a Daler Mehndi concert which was conducted on metaverse, but first time a kind of an official program. And three very eminent, apart from our minister, three other very eminent people are participating. The chairman of ISRO is participating. The CEO of NITI Aayog is participating. And Government of India set up a private agency to bring private players into the world of space, which is called InSpace. So the chairman of InSpace is participating. So lots of very eminent people, and I don't think we'll be able to give access to all of you, but I'm sure you'll be able to see the recording later on. And you'll find it very fascinating how the avatars of all these people are on the stage, they're talking, they're interacting with each other, and so on and so forth. But anyway, this was just a digression. The point which I'm trying to make is that we do three things which is very kind of very comprehensive. First is we bring out a approach paper or a policy paper or a document to tell what we intend to do. Second is we set up an institution to deliver that policy. See, this is again something which is considered to be a big criticism about our country, that good policies are made but nothing is happening on the ground. And one of the reasons, apart from the fact that policies are very wishy-washy, very ambitious, not really action-oriented, but even if there is some element of action orientation, one of the reasons nothing happens on the ground is that no one takes responsibility for implementing that policy. So in Telangana, one thing which we do is that we create an institution, an institutional arrangement which will take full responsibility of that policy. So for example, since we are talking about blockchain, we have created an institution which is called the Blockchain District. This is again a very unique kind of an arrangement which has multiple partners collaborating, a small steering group. To implement artificial intelligence focused programs, we have created an institution which is called TAIM, the Telangana Artificial Intelligence Mission, and so on and so forth. So we create an institution whose sole responsibility is to implement what we want to do in that sphere. And this entity, that institution that we create, is a multi-stakeholder institution. It's not a government institution. So again, to continue with the blockchain district example, so blockchain district has 5 kind of a founding partners. So of course the Telangana government is there. There is a Government of India institution in Hyderabad which is called CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing. They are one of the partners. Then Tech Mahindra is a homegrown company, as you would know, which has a very strong blockchain practice located in Hyderabad. So they are one of the partners. Then IIT is one part, Triple IT is one partner, and Indian School of Business is another partner. So academic institutions, private sector, Government of India, state government. And we are doing multiple things. We have started innovation programs, we run incubation programs. There's an accelerator which is called T-Block, which has had, I guess, 3 cohorts so far, and very good, very interesting kind of work which is happening by the members of those T-Block cohort, etc. And third very important thing is that to run the institution which we create, we also get talent from the open market. So we have what is called an emerging technologies wing. So they take responsibility of running all these new generation technology programs, and based on the necessity, they take more and more people on board who are given the responsibility to run these programs. So for instance, when we are announcing the space tech framework tomorrow, very shortly, maybe within a matter of 10 days or 15 days, we'll be recruiting someone who will be handling the space related program. So we'll be coordinating that. Similarly, the last big technology leap that we had taken under the emerging technologies wing was on additive manufacturing. So the institution that has been created to run those programs is called the National Center for Additive Manufacturing, and we have just finalized the recruitment of a CEO. The CEO will be joining us in May. He is currently working in Dubai, so he is in the process of transitioning. So this is the way in which we attempt everything. And for Web3 also, our approach will be exactly the same. We would like to get more and more feedback from the Web3 community. I understand that people who are here have different levels of interest. So I just heard you say that you are already working on some kind of a Web3 projects on a stealth mode. There are some people who are exploring, I mean, they are fascinated by this idea and they feel that tomorrow this will be the most frontier technology that will kind of come our way, and some of them are willing to kind of join hands. We haven't got introduced to everyone else, but I'm sure there'll be people of different ranges. Some of them are students who are kind of here out of curiosity, but many of them feel about the values of Web3 and feel that this is their time, this is their responsibility. I'm not sure if any of you or some of you have had any brush in the past with institutions like, let us say, the Internet Freedom Foundation or Digital Foundation of India. There are lots of not-for-profits in our country who have been for years altogether talking about some of exactly the same concerns which I voiced in the beginning about how the world of internet is now totally in the hands of the big tech, and we are merely faceless, voiceless kind of puppets here. So we'll be very happy if Hyderabad becomes the important center amongst various other centers across the world where lots of Web3 related work happens, like as you mentioned, lots of new projects are developed here, community grows up. Also, the kind of support you require in terms of, so for example, some of you may know this, that we were one of the first states, first large state for that matter. I mean, Sikkim did it before us, but Sikkim, as we all know, it's not a mainstream state, it's a small state. So Telangana was the first large state which came up with its own open data policy. We were the first state to create a open data portal, and if you go there now also, you will see huge amounts of data which is made available with the right levels of anonymization, with privacy and various other kinds of checks and balances. So our interest from the very beginning has to make the usage of data, the usage of internet very, very democratic. I mentioned to you about artificial intelligence. We are again considered one of the few states which has adopted AI like anything. If you look at the country as a whole and make a comparison amongst the 28 states, the state which has the largest number of use cases on AI in the government sector is our state of Telangana. So here also, when we designed our AI framework, again with the help of members of the team, our ambition was to ensure that issues related to governance of AI is not at all sidetracked, because many times while AI looks very cool, the kind of results it can deliver is mind-boggling, and we feel so enamored with the kind of results which we are getting that we somehow miss out the focus on governance, ethics, privacy and so on and so forth. But we did not lose sight, and while there has been some delay in doing it, but at least we are keen to do it now, which is to create some kind of an ethics committee or an oversight committee which looks at all the AI programs that we run in the government and kind of audit it and tell us whether all the frameworks of ethics, good governance, etc. have been maintained in those programs or not. So basically my intention here, I mean, even though I did not want to make a long speech, eventually it has ended up like a long speech, which I very much wanted to avoid. My intention was to basically understand from all of you, what is the community doing, what direction are you taking, what kind of support do you require, and I will encourage you to go to our website it.telangana.gov.in, where you read all these frameworks that I spoke about. Read the AI framework. Tomorrow, once the Space Tech framework is launched, it is happening at 5 in the evening. At hopefully around 6 o'clock, you will find it there. So read some of these frameworks and suggest to us what can we create on similar lines for Web3. Similarly, the blockchain policy is there, all the other frameworks, policies, approach documents, they're all there. So on similar lines, what do you want us to do for Web3? Couple of points which I can tell you now itself, even if there is no approach paper or a framework so far, because we are still at a very, very early stage of that learning curve, is that, see, the mother policy of everything is our innovation policy, innovation and startup policy. And there are certain features in that which remain constant across all the new frameworks which we develop. So, for instance, the Space Tech framework which will come out tomorrow will have these features which are being drawn from the innovation and startup policy. So, I'll speak about 2-3 features. So, one feature which I already kind of alluded to is that if you require any data which is available in your knowledge. If it is already on the open data portal, you are just free to use it. But if you know of some other kinds of data which is available with the government or any agency of the government which is not yet been made open, but your work which you are doing related to Web3, if that kind of data is relevant and necessary. So one is that we give you that assurance that we'll make all that data available to you. So that will kind of solve lots of hassles for you running around looking for data. The second thing which I can also assure you is that if it is a homegrown kind of a startup or company, homegrown meaning you are in Telangana, you are registered in Hyderabad or in Telangana, and if you have come up with a solution which is of relevance to the government, then I will procure it bilaterally from you. I will not run any procurement challenge or procedure or procurement process of bidding, like you have to quote some price, and unless the price is lowest, I will not look at you. There is no such thing. There is no price bidding, there is no competition. I can bilaterally procure it from you if you have a solution which is of relevance to us. And there is no ceiling, like it has to be within this value only. It can be of hundreds of crores also, but we can procure it directly from you. And the third thing, of course, is that if you are starting new, you are just in the process of kind of refining your idea, etc., then as you know, there are incubators which we ourselves have created, like the T Hub or the V Hub, and there are various other incubators also with whom we have partnerships. So there is a possibility of us recommending you to go and participate in that, to take some seats in that incubator. So that kind of physical infrastructure support also we will provide. Fortunately, the new T Hub building, some of you may be aware that the government has built a new facility called T Hub Phase 2. It is not yet open because the interior works, etc., are still going on. We expect that it will be ready by June of this year. But that is a huge facility that has more than 4,000 seats. So in the existing T Hub, there were certain kind of challenges in accommodating everyone, because it can only host about 800 people. So obviously not everyone can be accommodated. But in T Hub Phase 2, the space is 5 times bigger, and obviously many more people can be accommodated. And as I said, Web3 is something of both at a personal level and also from the government's point of view. It is a tremendously important initiative for us, and therefore we may even think of creating a separate kind of a floor or a space where the rentals are even lower, literally free of cost kind of an arrangement. So we'll be very happy to support all these Web3 initiatives. But as I said, the concluding point which I want to tell you is that I want to learn more from all of you. I mean, this lecture is more of a context setting. I did not tell you anything about Web3 or the kind of issues that we are interested in. But look at the blockchain kind of work that we have been doing over the last 3-4 years, and that should give you a sense of what kind. Though I thought of telling you about multiple blockchain use cases, since you mentioned e-voting, etc., but I will not do that. All that is given on the website, and most of the work which our startups do, they are reported in media, press, etc., etc. So you can pull out all that information from somewhere. So once again, I'm very happy to be here. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to spend time till the very end. I may be here for another maybe 30-40 minutes, but when you have the next meetup in which you would like to give some feedback to me and set some direction on how between the government and all the stakeholders together we want Web3 to be pushed further, I'll be happy to come again and spend more time with you. Thank you very much.